Hey everybody, it's Brian, it's Joy Boys, and doing something a little different here. Uh, Anytime we've had a new show that we've kind of wanted to explain what is the theme or the idea behind this show for you, we've done it the same way. The first ever episode, we open up with the explanation, get to some silly intro that we made, and then we start actually playing the game. Not this time. This is going to be a standalone video explaining yet another new show. You may have noticed the title, Trope-acetic. What the heck is this? Well, this is going to be usually a Brian only show. This is something that I've actually kind of wanted to tackle on my own before Rob and I started Joy Boys. And now that we're doing Joy Boys, I feel even more compelled to get this done. Here is the explanation, and you'll understand why I thought maybe I should do a separate video just explaining this, because there's some things about this that I think a lot of people may not understand, may not like, and hopefully I can kind of confront those issues ahead of time. We'll see if it works out. Years and years ago, searching for who knows what on the internet, I came across a document online of the grand list of console RPG cliches. I want to be clear up front. I had nothing to do with this list. I didn't make it. I wasn't a contributor. I never hosted the list anywhere. I had nothing to do with this list. I don't exactly know when it was made. I feel like it might have been started around 2000, and maybe it was completed in the form that I currently know it as around 2005-ish. It wasn't until much later that I actually came across this. I found this list, if you want to see it yourself, at project-apollo.net/text/rpg.html. I was floored when I read this list. It has 192 just common cliches that you always see in all of these RPGs, and yet it made me wonder, why do we still like this genre so much, those of us who do, when it has so many of these same ideas that at this point we just take it for granted. Of course, when you sleep, you should have your HP and MP refilled. Why? I don't know. They all do it. So I did this weird thing where I guess I didn't trust the permanency of something like this on the internet. So I Control-A'd and I copy pasted into a Word doc, and I've just had it sitting away in my documents folder for the past 15 years, I guess. I don't even know. And every few years, I happen to come across it for one reason or another, and I start looking through it, and I'm just amazed. It's such a well put together list. So many things were thought about, and the naming is quite ironic, and some of the text is funny as well. But after a couple of times of going through the list, I started asking myself a question. When I think RPGs, there's really four that really are my RPGs. Some of them are going to be no surprise to you because they're huge names like Final Fantasy. Some of them aren't going to be a surprise to you because I don't shut up about them. I'm constantly bringing up Dragon Quest. I'm constantly bringing up Suikoden. Some of them you might be surprised that I love, like the Lunar series, especially the two remakes. But the thing I started thinking about was how when I went through these lists, I would think about the Suikoden games, specifically the first and the second one. Let's just call them what they are, everybody's favorites. And I don't think too many of these rules actually fit that game. And I started asking the question, is the Suikoden series a very uncliche RPG? And then once you ask that, it starts begging other questions. Which RPGs are the most cliched? Which ones are the least cliched? How do we find out? You got to put some math to figure that out, right? That's got to be something that can be tested and answered. And that's what Trope-acetic is going to be. Here, we are going to play through, usually to completion, but who knows, sometimes things happen and maybe we won't, various RPGs by series, mixing them up constantly, going back and forth through time. I love my random number generator, so of course I've got one going for this. And along the way, trying to track how many of these rules from this list are a positive finding on that game. And then we can start ranking them in order. Which games are in the top 10% most cliched games? It has nothing to do with it being a bad game necessarily. I mean, I'm constantly reading things and thinking about Final Fantasy when I come across them, but hasn't made me love those games any less, It's just something kind of fun, I think, to find out, to answer that question. Given that RPGs are such long games, there are so many of them, I kind of view this as a project that will never end, or at least I won't be the one to complete it. But I still want to get it started. I still want to see what we find out, what we learn, and maybe you want to come along with me on the trip. Now, that could have all been said at the beginning of episode 1 of Trope-acetic, so why didn't I do that? Well, there's a couple of things I want to tell you guys. First things first, let's talk about those 192 rules. You would think that means that the scale of how tropey an RPG is would be on a scale out of 192 points. But no, not actually. I made a couple little changes to the list, but I didn't add new rules. I didn't take any rules away. What I did, though, is I saw some of the rules were done in a way that I felt like needed to be spread out. I'll give you an example. One of the rules has to do with cliche locations that an RPG is likely to have your party traversing. A volcano maze, an enchanted forest, things like that, some sort of shiny rock mine. Well, the way the list is made, and doing what we're doing here, if an RPG only had one of those locations on it, and a different RPG had 5 of them, they each would have earned 1 point for that cliche. And I said, no, we got to count each one of those. And then there's some other rules like that too. Certain types of characters you run into, broken down by, are they heroes? Are they villains? Are they random NPCs that you come across? Anything like that. So we're not actually out of 192 points. This list is actually 277 points. Yeah, that's a lot. However, I'm hoping that'll help avoid as many matching numbers and difficulty in sorting that we would otherwise run into when we're trying to rank these in order. One other point about it, when I was going through these and breaking them down, there were 2 rules that, of course, now that I'm talking about it, I can't remember what they were, that I read them and I didn't know exactly what they were talking about or didn't know exactly how I could apply them for trope-acetic. I didn't take them out, though. Like I said, I made no changes to the rules. I just left myself a note and said, this is what I think this is referring to. This is what I'll be looking for when reviewing the rules to try and tally up what a game's score is. You may have a different interpretation, but I just wanted you to know that's what's going on here and why the number is so high. That's the first thing I want to talk about. Now let's go to the second thing. I'm recording this right now in 2024. I actually don't know when this is going to start. It might start appearing for you in 2024. I might hold off until 2025. There's reasons why, and I will actually get to that. But anybody who's around right now and into gaming, you're starting to notice a very Hollywood problem with video games today. They're constantly being re-released, remastered, remade. So what version of a game am I going to play? How many times has Final Fantasy 1 been re-released for various consoles and different remakes that it went through? Am I going to play each and every single one of those? No, that is definitely something I don't think I could do. Even if there are some changes made to them that might alter the score, We're just scoring the version of the game that gets played on the show, which brings us back to the question, what version of a game will I be playing? When we're doing Pixel Pack and Mama, I try to get her as close to the original game as possible, or at least the one I'm most familiar with. I don't have such a rule for this one. This one is literally going to come down to what is the most convenient for me. As an example, we recently had Super Mario RPG re-released. I don't know what all systems that's on, but I know for sure it's on the Switch. I don't have a Switch. I don't have a capture card. That's not going to be a possibility for me right now, at least. So if I were going to be playing that game, if that came up on a spin, I'm actually going to be playing that on the Super Nintendo. Other times, I might go a different route. I love Dragon Quest IV. That is one of the RPGs that made this one of my genres, you know? But I don't know if I want to play the NES one. Sure, I still think the merchant's name is Taloon, and I can't remember if I think it's Tornico later on as it's been re-released, but there might be some quality of life issues that get improved in the DS remake that I enjoyed so much. So I might go that way, or maybe that was GBA. But you get what I'm saying. I don't really know. I do know Dragon Quest I is going to be the first game that I cover on this show. And as a result of that, I know at least stateside, they're about to release something for the Switch. Can't do it, just told you why. On the other side, I know that there's a Game Boy Color version, which is Dragon Warrior 1+2. I've dipped my toe in it. I actually thought the NES one was better than the GBC one. I never really know until I finally sit down and say, okay, it's time to play this. Thank you, sirens going by. Okay, it's time to play this. Which one I'm doing? That's the one that I'm doing. Let's go. And that's that. So you don't really know till I get started. I might actually ask for some input, or you guys can offer some for whenever I get to it, and I will totally accept that input. That input, by the way, is going to be super, super delayed. I kind of already hinted at that. When these episodes start, I'm hoping to have started and completed the recording of at least 5 games. Well, at least 3 games. I'm aiming for 5. I want to have these done and ready to go, giving me as much of a backlog as possible. Why? Because at the moment, I can't really record in the months of July and August, and June and September can be real iffy, just because of the way that we're set up. But there is another reason. And in fact, this is the reason why I made a separate video just to explain what these rules are going to be, what we're doing at Trope-acetic. Now, stay calm, okay? I'm going to be cheating my ass off. Let me explain. Just to give you some quote-unquote gamer cred here, Final Fantasy VII, I beat that game 3 times, not once with Knights of the Round, until the 4th time I beat the game, because I couldn't stand racing the same chocobo races over and over again, doing the mating thing with them, trying to get a golden so I could finally go to that little island out off nowhere. I can finish a game. I don't mind a challenge. Heck, House Rules is based on the fact that I'm always doing this with games, making stupid rules for myself that make a game harder. I'm not some game pushover. I'm also not good at games, but that's whatever. Why am I cheating? Because, man, these games are long and there's a lot of grind. Most commonly, you will see me cheat with 1 and or 2 ways going here. It's probably going to be related to whatever money is based in the game, and also probably related to magic, specifically the amount of MP you get. I went back and forth on this repeatedly for really a couple months now about how I wanted to approach this. The cheating is meant to do one thing specifically, which is save time. Because I do really want to find out, how does this list form over time? this isn't our full-time job. This isn't even really a job for any of us at all. This has only been spend money to do this. We're not making anything off of it. So that means Rob and I, we have real jobs that we've got to go to. And he works a heck of a lot more hours than I do, which is why this is mostly going to be a me show. So we kind of want to get going with it. It's nice in the very beginning of a game. You walk out of the town at first, you circle around it, and you fight random encounters. But by the time you've reached your third village, you're kind of tired of doing that, So I want to take that out. That's where the gold comes in. The magic part has to do with healing. I don't want to deal with inventory systems that are limited, going back and forth and needing to sleep or buy more items or what have you. I might even cheat in other ways just to speed things up, because honestly, this isn't about the gameplay. This is about the cliches that exist that make up this game. And to be honest with you, I feel like you shouldn't feel too bad about that, even if you're not a fan of cheating. And here's why. If you want to see somebody play an RPG in particular, all the way through the way it's meant to be done, you can find it. It's all over YouTube. It's all over Twitch. It's all over everywhere. You can also find special things, speed runs, 100% runs. Other people sometimes do things like house rules as well that you can find as a fun way to go through. So that stuff is out there. This is just about the tropes. That's the one I expect a lot of people are going to randomly pick a game that shows up for them out of Trope-acetic, and they go, how does this guy have all that gold? Come on, cheater, that kind of thing. They're probably not going to watch this video, and so they won't know why we're doing what we're doing. But maybe for some of you, I can at least explain why it is. It's all about the time, and it's the only reason why I think there's any chance whatsoever for me to get 3 to 5 games done, ready to go, before we actually make the show live. But it also runs into another problem. There is a problem with cheating. Sometimes it breaks things. So I need some of this room because I see it being completely possible for me to have spent 20 hours on a game and then find out, oops, the way I cheated on something actually kind of locks me in where I'm at. I'm going to be save scumming, which is a thing I don't normally do, because of that possibility. This is all hoping that we don't just lose hours and hours of work and get nothing out of it. So that's Trope-acetic. I hope you guys will join me. And we don't beg for likes. We don't beg for subscribes. And we also don't beg for comments. And this is the last comment I have to make. Please feel free. If you notice we've missed a trope, or maybe we counted one that maybe shouldn't have been counted, please let us know. The list itself is going to be live. When we're done with a game, I'm done updating that list, unless if you guys point out to me, I messed up and I missed something. Feel free. We'll keep it going live. There's no problem there whatsoever. As for where can you see this list? Are we hosting a document somewhere? I don't know how to do that. I'm not sure where the best place to go for that is, how to format it or what have you. So if any of you are interested in something like that, drop us a line, let us know, and we'll try and work with you and figure out where it can go, how it should be set up, that others can see it, and, double check our work. Hope you enjoy this, and, man, I got a lot of slimes to kill.